One morning, a man woke up inside his own home and immediately realized something was wrong. Not pain, not dizziness, not weakness. Something far stranger. When he tried speaking to his family, they stared at him in confusion because the words coming out of his mouth no longer sounded familiar. His voice was still his, but the language wasn't. At first, his family thought he was joking, maybe stress, maybe exhaustion, but within minutes, panic began building inside the room because he was just as confused as they were. He could understand what people were saying to him, but whenever he responded, the sentences emerging from his mouth sounded foreign, unnatural, like someone else was speaking through him. Imagine the psychological terror of suddenly losing the ability to communicate normally with the people closest to you while still fully conscious. That was the reality he now faced. Doctors were contacted quickly. At the hospital, the confusion only deepened. Medical staff struggled to identify exactly what language he was speaking. Some thought it sounded partially European. Others believed it resembled fragments of multiple accents combined together. But nobody could fully explain why an ordinary man suddenly sounded completely different overnight. And here's the part that disturbed his family most. He himself had no idea it was happening. Inside his mind, he believed he was speaking normally. That disconnect created emotional chaos because every conversation became frightening. Simple questions turned stressful. Every attempt to communicate reminded him that something inside his identity no longer felt stable. Soon, specialists became involved. Neurologists investigated possible brain trauma. Psychologists considered emotional causes. Medical scans searched desperately for damage. Some experts believed the condition resembled what is now called foreign accent syndrome, an extremely rare neurological phenomenon where brain changes alter speech patterns dramatically after injury, illness, or trauma. But even that explanation did not fully comfort the family, because this was not simply a different accent. To the people around him, it felt like listening to someone transform into a stranger overnight. Friends reacted differently around him. Conversations became awkward. Public attention slowly grew. And emotionally, the isolation became devastating. Because language is more than sound. It is identity, connection, recognition, the invisible system human beings use to reassure each other that everything is normal. And once that familiarity disappears, even ordinary conversations begin feeling emotionally unsettling. Some people around him became suspicious. Others feared something psychological was happening. A few even believed supernatural explanations, because human beings struggle deeply with changes they cannot emotionally categorize. Eventually, parts of his speech slowly improved, but according to reports surrounding similar cases, many patients never fully returned to sounding exactly the way they once did. And maybe that is what makes stories like this so disturbing. The realization that personality itself can feel fragile, that a tiny neurological event, something invisible inside the brain, can suddenly alter the way the world experiences you. One day you sound like yourself. The next, even your loved ones hesitate for a moment after hearing your voice, not because they stopped loving you, but because something familiar suddenly feels unfamiliar. And perhaps that is one of the deepest psychological fears human beings carry quietly inside themselves. The fear of waking up one morning and no longer fully recognizing the person you used to be. History is not old. History is living inside us. One day, one event, one lesson.
Mr. Feedy,